Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and the Los Angeles Rams take on Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers in a massive NFC matchup. Who would have thought that Carolina would have this competitive of a season in the NFC? I guess Carolina fans, because they are fired up about their football team. This is a huge game in the NFC. Playoff implications, no doubt. Let's start with LA. This team has arguably been the best team in the NFL in 2025. Why? Well, it is their MVP quarterback level, Matthew Stafford, who is playing the best football of his entire year this season. The addition of Davante Adams to this team has been a jolt of life, leading the league in touchdowns. And then you combine that with Puka Nacua, that's as good as anybody in creating separation, yards after catch, and being a great blocker. This Rams offense is no doubt top 7, top 8 in the league because of them being so balanced. Sean McVay, what does he want to do? That Kyle Shanahan and that McVay, that Matt LaFleur style offense is always going to try and get under center, run the football, and attack you. They're always getting the narrative of being high octane and the deep passes and play action, but it really all starts with the run game. If you can run the football well in this offense, you are going to have a ton of success, especially if you have a high-level quarterback that's accurate, can navigate the pocket, and not have the big mistakes. I mean, if you think about it, Stafford in Detroit, he made those mistakes. And then in this system with McVay, he seemingly erased and created himself into a newer, better version ultimately. And this is the best team, I would probably argue, that he has been on as far as an offensive standpoint, even better than what he was working with back in 2021 because of this wide receiver duo that is arguably the best in the entire league. Now, Carolina, what has led to their success? Well, their quarterback, Bryce Young, is without a doubt playing the best football of his career. This team has been able to win close one-score games. You think about their season, besides the shutout of Atlanta, they had to beat the Dolphins in a one-score 3-point win. The Cowboys, tight game 30-27. The Jets, that game was under control, but still a one-score game. And at the Packers, came down to a game-winning field goal. And the Falcons 30-27 a couple weeks ago. I got to let you know, because of scheduling, I am recording this video actually before the Rams game, Sunday night game at SoFi in LA against the Bucks, and Carolina's Monday night game against the 49ers. Because of Thanksgiving holiday travel, I'm recording this video before those games happen, so I apologize without knowing those results in mind. But wishing all of you a happy Thanksgiving and safe travels and a great holiday with friends and with loved ones as we get towards the holiday season here with Blitz with Blender. If you haven't already, and you enjoy this content with Blitz with Blender, I'm Josh Blender. I make NFL and college content weekly, getting you set and ready for these huge NFL and college matchups as we're getting closer to that playoff season. And what's better than a game with playoff implications? Now, where I want to start statistically, just to give you a sense here, is why I call the Rams a top 8 offense. No doubt Rams fans even believe that they're probably top 5, and I can sway to that. I don't even think that I believe they're 8. I think that they are probably closer to being a top 4, top 5 offense in the league because of their high-end ceiling and what is actually a pretty dang high floor as well. If you look at tight games against the Eagles, games against the Colts or the 49ers lost, they still were able to have some decent success on the offensive side of the ball in those games. It's where the defense had some lulls there, but 27 points a game, that's 6th in the league. 360 yards, that's 8th. So you're looking at a team that is well-rounded because this is arguably the best defense in the league. So Carolina and their offense against the Rams, this is not quite David versus Goliath, but it's certainly a tall task for them because this offense in its entirety throughout the year has been better than what we're used to, but still, that's a middle-of-the-pack offense. Their best attribute, I would say, is controlling time of possession. They're a top 5 offense in controlling the football, keeping it within them, and I believe that that is their biggest weapon against this Rams team, is running the football. They can have success on the ground and keep the ball away from that Stafford offense and also mitigate that pass rush. Think about how good Green Bay is. that game at Lambeau Field. And you don't think about Bryce Young throwing it. I mean, he only had 100 yards through the air, but it was 163 on the ground. The Panthers taking it to the Packers. 33 rush attempts to 20 pass attempts, 5 yards a carry. Rico Dowdle, 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's the formula in this game. Win a sloppy game. Can you force the Rams into punting the football or into tight decisions on fourth down? The Seattle Seahawks laid a little bit of the groundwork there, how they were stopping them in short yardage areas, really playing tight coverage with these Los Angeles receivers and Adams and Nacua, the tight ends, not letting them get space, because there's a certain attribute of wide receivers that you'd think that when they're given a little space that their routes aren't as good. No, these guys eat up that space so well, and their routes are darn clean. They're also very good against press coverage and when defensive backs are up on them. But I would far rather have you make the Rams earn it on those short yardage downs than Stafford just being able to throw it quick underneath with that release and pinpoint accuracy to pick those up. So on the third and shorts, challenging the Los Angeles Rams wide receivers, and they have the defensive back group to do it, led by, of course, one of the highest paid guys at his position in J.C. Horn. Trayvon Moehrig coming up down into the slot. He's one of the better players, and this team, now with the addition of Deshaun Wharton in the offseason from Kansas City, they've got a pass rush. There's Nick Scourton, one of the better players in the SEC a season ago from A&M. I like this Carolina Panther team, and especially their weapons on offense that they can utilize. Because if you can run the football and keep yourself in third and manageable, that's the key. This Rams pass rush is just too good. Young, Turner, and Jared Verse, Nate Landman behind all of that. This is a defense that you really love the way that they play. Guys like Emmanuel Forbes, they come down and hit you. Of course, there's been a little bit of the nicks and the nags back there with a great player in Quentin Lake that hasn't been fully healthy. But this is a Carolina team that does threaten LA based on good offensive line play, far better than what you had seen for them in the past couple of years in the sense of protecting Young. Also, he's helping them out by getting the football out quicker, more decisive, and they're staying on schedule more because of that run game. But with Xavier Legette in his emergence, Tet McMillan now in his red zone threat ability, third down, Bryce Young has a weapon he can go to on third down, and there's few better, I would say, traits of an offense than having a quarterback that's very confident about a guy that they can go to on third, fourth down. Just look at what Stafford and Puka Nacua have. Now, for the Rams to attack the Carolina Panther defense, where they really do have an advantage here, is, well, they can do it either way. And in their game against Seattle, they really had their opportunities. And I was expecting them to run away with that game in the fourth quarter. They had the football, I want to say, 2 times with a 2-possession lead, up by 9 points, and could not put it away because of the short yardage areas, which is interesting. They had over around 5.5 yards a carry, 22 carries, 120 on the grounds, and involving Puka Nacua on those last couple of possessions. Kyren Williams over 7 yards a carry on the day. Where they struggled was bringing in Blake Corum. Now, I love the balanced attack between Corum and Williams, but when it's clear that one back is having more success on the ground, and it's obvious. Look, Kyren Williams on the early downs is getting the football. Blake Corum inside the red zone, as well on third and short or fourth down, that's where he was getting the carries. So that makes sense to me of why the yards per carry for Corum. He only had 10 yards on 8 carries. They were in much tougher run downs for him to be able to get any space. Still, that I would have liked to seen Kyren Williams get a couple of opportunities there to maybe clinch the game himself, and he did get a couple, and you have to then credit that Seattle defense that has been really good this season. Those two teams are, again, on another train track, full collision course to see each other. I believe it's December 18th, Thursday night football there at Lumen Field in Seattle, that very well could wind up wrapping up the entire division on that day. Depends on who wins that game. So it's typical for this Rams team to have an ability to stretch the field with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, but you add in the elements of a run game, you start to think back to their team that went to the Super Bowl in 2018, their team that won the Super Bowl in 2021, that when they are fully powered and those teams had really good defenses, this is a team starting to come together and mesh, fire on all cylinders, and a quarterback that just doesn't turn the football over, putting up MVP numbers. This is a gargantuan, type task for Carolina to pull off, despite this game being at home. How do you defend the Rams defensively on the early downs? Well, again, I'm challenging those wide receivers. I'm not giving Nacua and Adams an inch. I am keeping a look with two high safeties because there is a possibility at any moment that the Rams can attack. With Tutu Atwell not being healthy, they don't quite have that deep level threat. But again, Adams on one-on-one down the field, Puka, Nacua, these guys can stretch the field very well. There's no route that they cannot run ultimately with success. So I would stay in too high and then rotate out of it if the Rams are having 5-6 yards on the early downs and getting themselves to 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. It's really the key in a lot of these games in the highest level of the sport is 3rd down and 3rd down and manageable. In the game for Seattle, them having a large amount of struggles on those downs and where you saw Darnold throwing those interceptions and forcing the ball down the field, it had a bit to do with how well the Rams defended the run game. Now, the Seattle offense has gotten a ton of credit, and with good reason, for their ability to run the football. And this rushing attack, I would argue, for Carolina is relatively close to that level. Like, they can run the football at any time. I want to see Bryce Young, though, use one of his best attributes. Why I love this kid and the first overall pick, why he was taken over C.J. Stroud, we got to remember, was he was the better athlete. He's more mobile. He's got an ability to threaten a defense a little bit more, stretch them because of that ability to run. Against Green Bay, didn't quite do it as much. Against the Rams, you're going to have to see that. Now, get your butt down, because guys like Nate Landman, Jared Verse can go sideline to sideline and take your head off. So don't be taking those hits. There's still a ton of football left in the season, but on those key downs, 3rd down, and you got to have it. If this game can be close in the 4th quarter, then you got to go get that 1st down or get into the end zone. That's where you'll see Bryce Young. I want to see him just attack, but don't be taking hits in the 1st quarter. One of my biggest knocks on guys like Jackson Dart or these young quarterbacks like J.J. McCarthy is they've been taking those hits and they haven't gotten themselves down and protected themselves. So Bryce Young has done a better job of that. Certainly helps when you're protected better. But in order to beat LA at some point, for me, it's going to be his legs, because that's one of the areas that the Los Angeles Rams haven't quite faced an offense that has a guy, right? You look back to the game against Daniel Jones and Indy, or Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't play Lamar Jackson. They haven't faced a truly mobile quarterback back to the game against Indianapolis, a game that they had sort of in hand a little bit. Daniel Jones didn't run much in that game. And then against the Philadelphia Eagles back in week 3, which unfortunately could wind up deciding the division, Jalen Hurts had early success. I want to say the first touchdown of the game was a Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown. So that's what I look back to as a one game this year where the Rams have been gashed by a mobile quarterback. That was Jalen Hurts. Bryce Young, he's a little bit quicker than Jalen's, a bit more of a bulky guy through the lower half of his legs. And Bryce Young's got a bit of that top end speed. Utilize that, because this Rams team, they try and challenge you. They come up on the line, as well as they're excellent in coverage, because they know they don't have to cover for more than 3 seconds. That pass rush is going to get home, and they know that they can attack, be aggressive, because more likely than not, that pass rush is going to get there very quickly. So that's a part of this game for me that I can circle as an X factor. Bryce Young and his ability to get first downs. Where where offensive coordinators, and I say this in just about all my videos, and I continue to pound the table for it, when there is a mobile quarterback, use your traits. Do not let that be coached out of you. Canales, he's going to understand how important that effect is of off-script first downs, right? Every coach wants 3 or 4 off-script, off-schedule first downs with a quarterback creating, making a play, whether it's escaping a sack and throwing the football down the field. Something Stafford has probably shown to be his most underrated ability truly is his footwork in the pockets, and with the guy on him able to use that strength and deliver the ball downfield when it looks like he might be dead to rights back there in the pocket, and he can evade the pressure, not because of incredible mobility, because of experience, understanding leverage and movement of where that he can place his body in a spot to where he can get away from that pressure and use a guy's physics against him. Bryce Young a bit more at the stage at this point to rely on that mobility. Again, it's something that he hasn't done a ton this year, but in this one, you'd imagine it needs to be that factor. Because if you stack up this Carolina team, and this is with all due respect to them, and you go guy for guy, talent for talent, and they play a clean game on both sides, full 4 quarters, the Rams win this game 31-24, 31-23. They stack up better on the defensive line, and the offensive line has been healthy. You look at this entirety of the Rams organization throughout top to bottom, the personnel that are on the field, they're one of the healthier teams in the entire league. And of course, that has a large factor going into late November, into December, the most important part of the season, and you needing to win big games. Having health and the availability of your guys is the number one attribute. There's nothing more valuable than having your best players available in the key moments. So LA, that's probably been my most exciting part. Something I would go with for them, as opposed to years previously where they're dealing with injuries, or last year it hurt them in not being able to compete for a home game in the divisional round when they had a caliber team at their top level to compete with the Lions, going to overtime week 1 with them, or the Eagles when they should have beat them. Honestly, if it didn't snow, they would have beat Philadelphia, and they gave a much better task of that Philadelphia team to win a playoff game than Kansas City or the Commanders. It wasn't even close. Those were 2 blowouts, and the Rams were right there with them. And then Philadelphia housing the Packers. That was by far the most competitive game, and frankly, the Rams almost had them there on the ropes. If they had that game at SoFi, or the Rams could get them at SoFi, you'd imagine they could get a win. And I really just hope that it doesn't end up coming back to haunt them or bite them in the end with that loss. 2 blocked field goals, unable to hold on to what was a big lead, up 26-7, and the Eagles just storming back in that game and outscoring them 12-0 in the 4th quarter. You really hope that there's an opportunity for this LA team to go down the line, finish 14-3. It's certainly still available to them. Could they wind up doing it? Or 13-4? Now it gets a little bit interesting. With games like the Lions in Seattle, you might have to put yourself winning both of those. But where the schedule stacks up, playing at Atlanta, Carolina at the end of the year, Arizona the week after this game, 14-3, not at all impossible. Realistically, you'd probably say 13-4 looks to be just about a given with this squad. And then Philadelphia with their schedule, though, it's tough to see them going worse than 13-4 down the stretch of what their schedule is going to wind up looking like. So ultimately, could the Rams get to that 14-3 mark to get the number 1 seed? They would need the Eagles to wind up 12-5. They were 12-5. That 1 seed would definitely wind up in LA's favor, and I'd be confident if Philly wound up 12-5 that the Rams would actually wind up getting that 1 seed. Again, a lot left on the schedule and what's difficult after this one, but this is a must-win for both of these teams. Carolina staying in the playoff picture, staying up there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Remember, they play that team again twice. 2 of the last 3 games against Tampa, Seattle, Tampa. They got New Orleans after the bye, after this Rams game. But those two out, that's going to be their season at the end there. Could they be in striking distance, even just being within one game of Tampa, and then they could take over the division with a win against them? And then the game against Seattle, if Tampa is able to still be within one game by the last game of the season, that's really the ultimate goal. Stay within striking distance of the Bucks and give yourself a chance the last game of the season, and then potentially work yourself into the wild card. I really feel like their chances are higher of winning the division than getting a wild card spot. There's a lot of teams there in a logjam in the back end still, with the NFC North likely getting probably 2 wild card teams. The NFC West with San Francisco and Seattle, potentially LA falling down in that spot. You'd probably not. It doesn't look like this Rams team has the caliber, I believe, to win the division. Believe that win against Seattle ultimately will come in very large handiwork. Of course, the conference record can come into play. Let's say if the Rams and the Seahawks both finished 14 or 13-4. If you were to say that, then it could come down to conference record, and at points, it does look like, because of that win against Seattle, that the Rams could wind up being there with the conference record. So we're talking about a game with really heavy playoff implications. This one sets the stage for the rest of the year, the last 5 weeks in December. Really excited to watch these teams. Would love to see them get into the postseason and believe that LA is truly a bona fide Super Bowl contender. I don't know what there is to knock on this team. There's not a phase of their offense or the defense that you can pick holes in and say that this team does not have the ability to go play 4 quarters and beat anybody. One of the tougher teams in the Eagles, the last 2 matchups, they are right there, obviously, with that team and had them on the ropes. Against a great team like Indianapolis, they've been right there. For Carolina, this team has shown that they can beat anybody, but now it's about the consistency of them stacking it together for 4 quarters and playing up to the level is an ability for them. You look at a blowout to Buffalo and a weird loss to the Saints a week after the game against the Packers. So for them, you're looking for consistency. It's week to week. Bryce Young showing up, being the same guy he was the week previously, playing well and having ability to be accurate and not missing open receivers. In the offensive line, the continuity of a unit being together and them not just having a lull. You play against the better team, it's showing up that day and bringing the best version of yourself. I believe that the Rams win this game. The way I talked about it stacking up, it would look like a Carolina game where they're forcing takeaways, where they execute at a super high level. You're talking 60% on 3rd down against the Rams, which should be very tough to do against one of the best defenses in the league. Remember that the Rams are 3rd in the league in interceptions. They take the football away. They're top 10 in sacks, turnover differential. They're 2nd in the NFL behind the Chicago Bears. So this team takes the football away, doesn't turn it over. They're great on both sides, and that's everything that you look at to be a Super Bowl contending team, which is exactly what they are. I think that the Rams win this game 30-20. This is one that is not at all a good matchup for Carolina. Their offense against that defense, or their defense against that offense, there isn't a side where I can really say that there's an advantage that I can hang the hat on and believe Carolina will be able to pull this off. It comes down to that X factor, Bryce Young's legs, and then 3rd down and short, challenging LA. You can get stops on 3rd down and short, because that's where Los Angeles gets into because of how efficient this offense is. 1st, 2nd down, this team gets in 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 as much as anybody, and then able to pick that up. If they can win in those scenarios, then the Carolina Panthers give themselves a great chance, but I just don't see it. I'm going to go with the Rams with a road win, 30-20 in a win decisively by double digits. I want to hear from you. Let me know down below in the comments what's an angle that I'm missing in this one for the Panthers to go out and win this game. I feel confident about this one, but again, love hearing from you guys where you're saying that's no reason for that. I fully disagree, or you guys heaping some praise in some case and agreeing with these previews and predictions. And it's always fun to hear both sides, whether it be positive, negative feedback from everybody. I want to hear from all of you. I'll try and get down there in the comments and engage and respond to as many of you as I can, as always. So I appreciate you so much for watching this Blitz with Blender video. Again, I'm Josh Blender making these videos, getting you set a game with heavy playoff implications. We're fired up for this one. I really hope that you enjoy your Thanksgiving with family, your Thanksgiving weekend with loved ones. Some of the best times that are available to us. The holiday season coming right up. And I really hope everybody stays safe, has very nice travels, and you all enjoy a great game this upcoming Sunday. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blender, hi everybody, I'm Josh Blender.
To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa to the 20.